Welcome to the GCN Tech Clinic, where we aim to answer your bike, tech and maintenance related questions. As ever, you can submit your questions down below in the comments section using the hashtag AskGCNTech, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as possible
within the allotted time.
Although, this week is a special edition whereby we've actually got questions from the GCN Tech Instagram account. So, fire away. What's the first one?
We made the rules here. First question, do I need to change my tyres for winter? Are summer, brackets, normal ones, safe?
Yes. But I would also say it depends on where you ride. So it's safe for us, answering that question, where we ride in, mainly winter, in England, where the winters, although wet and horrible, are pretty mild.
Yeah.
If you ride outside in other places, such as Canada or the Arctic Circle, where it gets incredibly cold, then definitely switching to a more dedicated winter tyre will give you more grip. Although, to be fair, I would say it does actually get to the point with road bikes where once you are getting to the point where you're riding a dedicated sort of winter tyre, the roads are generally so sort of potentially icy and treacherous that you might as well be switching to off-road.
Yeah, I think that's probably some really good solid advice. Grip is obviously not the only factor that tends to change moving from summer to winter tyres. Also, just the general construction is a bit more robust and durable, trying to protect against all the crap that's washed onto the roads in winter time.
So generally speaking, what you will have is a winter tyre will have more puncture protection, and it will also have, in the case of sort of like Pirelli's four-season tyres and winter tyres, a slightly different rubber compound, which, because the way in which rubbers behave as polymers is temperature dependent. So they become stiffer as they get colder. It's like when you used to freeze, you can freeze rubber with liquid nitrogen and it cracks like glass. So by tweaking the composition of those polymers, you can still make them behave as you want them to at those lower temperatures. And that's what they do with the rubber compound. So they still give you grip in winter tyres. But yeah.
It's a small difference, isn't it?
It's a small difference.
But I mean, great nerd explaining there, mate. I really enjoyed that. Next question. It feels like my Di2 battery doesn't last very long in the winter. Am I imagining this? I don't think you are imagining this, right? So there's some nerd science here between this. You're going to love this because I think it's to do with chemistry. But I think it's to do with the cold really slowing down the chemical reaction that happens in a battery, which is how it charges and discharges its energy. Is that right?
Yeah. And you just create more resistance within the battery itself as well.
So it's going to change the rate at which it charges, it discharges, and its capacity. So this is going to... The cold impacts this. So the colder it is, the greater the impact.
Yeah, one of the reasons why the resistance increases, nerd fact, is because so within a battery you have liquids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With lithium ions in them, typically, if it's a lithium ion battery.
Yeah.
And as that liquid cools, it becomes more viscous. And that increases the resistance. When it's a free-flowing liquid, it has low resistance.
Thanks, I like that. Next question. What kind of lights would you recommend for commuting? Well, should I give some examples of the lights I use for my commutes?
Please do.
I use a mixture of different lights. So when it's summertime in the UK, I only tend to use a very small but bright B-scene light because it's not dark. I don't actually need to see where I'm going. I just want to help people see me. Do it on the front and the back. And then now we're in winter time here in the UK. I tend to use a light which is not necessarily brighter in its like pure like lumen form, but it gives a good beam pattern. You can see where you're going. But I think the advice I would say for lights is it's easy to go really overkill on what you need in terms of battery life. For me, I just want to have something small on the front of my bike, lights up where I go, and I know it's got to do an hour into the work, an hour home, and then I can charge it up. Also, I quite like to have a backup rear light because if the battery dies, you really want to make sure someone can still see you.
Yeah, I think my commute is very short and just in an urban area that's lit, so I just have little blinking front and rear lights.
Little blinking boys. 900 lumens my light does on its brightest setting, and that for me is, I don't need it that bright. It gives you some sort of marker.
Mine does 1200. 1.5 hour burn time.
Yeah, but surely you don't need that to be able to see where you're going in urban areas.
my watch works in space. I don't need that either.
That's a good point. Yeah, all right. Next question, over to you.
Do I need to wash my bike after every ride?
Yes.
So one of the things that I think this is, again, like you get from pro mechanics, is you see them washing their bikes after every stage of like a Tour de France or something. And you got to understand the reason why they're doing that. They're doing that for sponsors. It's on TV. They got to make the bikes look amazing because they got to make people want to buy them. And so that's a big part of it. However, like, the important thing to keep clean is the drivetrain.
Yeah.
So if your chain's filthy, clean that. If you're waxing your chain, it'll actually survive quite a few rides. You have to really have a really dirty ride to need it to be cleaned. But if there's a little bit of like dirt on the frame and the non-moving parts, you don't necessarily need to clean it after every ride. You can let that dirt build up a bit and then clean it. Because actually, often by cleaning the bike, you can actually wear things out quicker just by constantly cleaning it.
Yeah, especially
you're creating more opportunities for water to get in and cause corrosion.
I was going to say, yeah, especially if you're using sort of powerful cleaners and solvents trying to degrease stuff, because that will also gradually work its way into the components where you really want grease to actually be. So I think there's no right or wrong way to do it, but I think approach it with caution and just make sure the key bits are clean, like Ollie says.
Yeah. Next question from Bobbin Smith. What shampoo does Ollie use? It looks lovely and soft.
Please do tell us. What shampoo do you use?
A variety. None today. It's hat hair day.
That's looking great.
But a variety of different
Any conditioners
shampoos.
in there? No special conditioners, or you just
sometimes there's conditioner thrown into the mix. All sorts of stuff.
So we're open to sort of like hair product deals and stuff like that.
Yeah, if there's any sponsors watching.
Bart Graph 1 indoor trainer maintenance. Do they need to do it? I have never had to do any specific maintenance to my indoor trainer.
Yes, but that's because we're proudly sponsored by Wahoo, and Wahoo provide us with their latest models whenever they become available. So we're not having the turbo trainer lifespan that they normally have. However, I've spoken to several of my friends, and
all three of them.
Yeah,
That's harsh.
I've learned some pretty interesting things.
Yeah, come on, share.
My brother, his turbo started to really creak and make noises, and he was like, "Oh no, is it broken?" So he took it to a shop and got it fixed.
Yeah.
Didn't cost him much. It was like 25 quid.
Yeah, so there are
bits do wear out on them.
Bits do. There's obviously bearings, the belts.
The other thing is, so another friend of mine, he's called Jake. He's a really good time trial man.
Yeah.
And he works at a bike shop in Bristol.
Yeah, Bomber Bike Works.
Bomber Bike Works, yeah. Shout out to Jake Sargent.
Yeah.
Good guy, Sarge Jaco. And then he's told me at their shop, he does perform maintenance and fix a lot of turbo trainers, and it's a really popular service they do in their bike shop.
No way, it's just more of a thing.
Find a local bike shop that is doing this, because they are doing them, and he says they're basically really fixable, and things do go on them.
Well, that's actually great news, because in a world we live in where lots of things are throwaway components, it's good to hear that you can keep these things going and repair them, because they're expensive as well.
Yeah. And
the maintenance that I do is really just to keep it looking clean and tidy. So there you go. Next question, over to you.
Carlos Scalera says, newspaper or aluminium foil as a plan for heat retention. So I'm guessing this is like on a cold ride, that classic thing of, in the Giro, they'd be cresting the Stelvio in the 1950s, and
newspaper down your jumper,
just stuffing Gazzetto dello Sport down the jersey.
I mean, in terms of heat retention, just purely on a materials basis, the paper is going to be better than aluminium foil, because aluminium foil is a far greater conductor, which is any heat that you do have on your hands or feet is going to drain in.
Science says no.
Of course it is. You want to insulate it, don't you?
Yes, so you are insulating it.
Yeah, but paper's better than foil as an insulator.
If how you're using it.
Of course, you're going to say.
So what is a thermos flask made from? Paper.
No, but that's got a massive insulated vacuum there inside it.
Yes,
like so do you. Vacuum around your feet.
No. So what you're doing when you wrap like say so people use foil often in their shoes.
Yeah.
They'll wrap foil on. If the foil was conducting onto the bare skin, then yes, aluminium is a better conductor of heat than cotton or wool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's the whole point. You're wearing a cotton or a wool sock, which is creating an insulating barrier, and then you're putting aluminium over the top, which is then reflecting infrared radiation back, and so it insulates that way. It reflects the heat back in.
This is going to be one of those really rare occasions. It's happened once before, but I'm going to have to admit I was wrong.
Well, no. So if you had the foil against your bare skin, it would conduct some heat.
Yeah.
There would be some thermal conductivity of body heat into the foil, and that's why often when you touch foil, it feels cold.
Yeah.
Like it feels cold to the touch because it's drawing heat. But then if you put an insulation underneath it, then that's going to help reflect heat back in.
Okay.
Like wrapping something in foil will help keep it cool and help keep it warm. It just helps preserve the temperature that it is.
Okay, I can get on board with that.
It's the same as if you wrap something in a blanket. It just helps keep the temperature of what that thing is. So if you had some beers in the back of your car and you were trying to keep them cool, you might as well just covering them and wrapping them in a blanket would help keep them cool. It wouldn't just help keep them warm.
Thanks. All right, I got it. I'm on board with that. Good.
Anyway.
Next question. What are the ways to reduce vibration on indoor trainers? Well, the easiest thing would be to put it onto a soft mat, for starters.
Yep.
And then before you do that, I would make sure you've got the feet all adjusted correctly, so the weight of you and the turbo trainer is distributed before all the bits.
I think using a level floor.
Yeah.
But the mats actually do make a pretty good difference.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. The dedicated mat that say you can get from Wahoo is brilliant. It's really hard wearing. It really does dampen vibration. As a stopgap, you could use a yoga mat or a camping mat.
Yeah. That's pretty
as a stopgap if you didn't have one of those.
Yeah.
That would be the first thing. And then you can also just increase that level of dampening. So if you have a really hard floor that you're doing it on, maybe put more than one mat down and just increase the level of dampening.
Double mat, no messing.
Yeah, you could do. Or and then the other thing is using some sort of like rocker plate.
Yeah.
So people dampen them by. We've seen these people have made them with like
tennis balls
and stuff. Yeah. But you can buy rocker plates to put your turbo on as well.
Yeah. All right. Last question then. Over to you. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, from Bisha Al Samari, who says, "Are ceramic bottom brackets worth the money?"
Can I just throw out there immediately? Yeah. It depends.
That's what I was going to say.
Depends what your goal is. Depends how much value you place on components for your bike, and depends on how much you want to try and service it in terms of keeping things and components lasting longer.
If you are, entering a cycling event where the winning margin is potentially going to be incredibly small, or your goal target time is potentially going to be, a very small margin of success or failure, and you've done all the other things that you can do, like you've done the best training that you can do, you've sorted out your aerodynamic position on the bike as best it can be, and you've done everything else, then ceramic bearings do make a difference. But it's so small, it is the cherry on top of the cake.
Yeah.
If you'd had the option to get a ceramic bottom bracket and you lost a time trial, like the national championships by a second, or you didn't qualify for GB, or your gravel world championships,
or whatever your goal is, really.
And you missed out by like the slimmest of margins, and you could have done that, then that's going to be a bit annoying, isn't it? But
100%.
Really have to stress it is the cherry on top of the cake.
Yeah.
So before you spend money on something like that, which is a slight performance benefit, I mean, there's other benefits to them as well, but it is that thing of like, have you done everything else?
Yeah. Don't go spending your money on fancy bearings and going, I don't need to do the training now.
Yeah.
Right, that was it for this week's GCN Tech Clinic. I say every single week, if we didn't get to your question, please do be persistent. Put it in the comments section down below, and we'll get to it in the coming weeks. Right.
Love you. Bye.
Ciao.